Today on the Relocated South African podcast, I'm joined by Lazola Tutani, all the way from Sumter in South Carolina. He describes himself as driven by a deep belief in people and potential. He is a passionate leader in manufacturing who thrives on building high-performance teams and solving complex challenges with clarity and purpose. Welcome, Lazola.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Lucky to have you. Before we get into the interview, just explain to the listeners where exactly is Sumter and how big is the town?
Sumter is in South Carolina, and it is close to two big cities, Columbia and Charlotte. And the city itself, I think it's got close to 100,000 or 50,000 people. Can't remember the exact number. And it's like a dorpie, if I can use South African language. So I compare to Uitenhage or Dispatch, where I'm from. So it's a small town, but it's got a lot of industry, much like Uitenhage in South Africa. So all automotive suppliers and so forth. So it's a central, very industrial town here in the US.
You can leave South Africa, but somehow the paperwork insists on following you. At Apostle, we help South Africans at home and abroad get the documents and visas they need for travel and immigration. Whether it is an apostille, police clearance, an unabridged certificate, or visa paperwork, we help keep one missing document from delaying your next chapter. For more information, visit apostle.co.za or email clients@apostle.co.za. Documents with convenience.
Awesome. I mean, really lucky to have you. So we always start at the beginning and you already answered part of that. So just where you're from and, schooling and so on. Give us a little bit of a background of your early life.
Yeah, so I was born in the East London in a township called Mdantsane. That's where I was born. Spent my formative years there. And then my mother is a teacher, so we moved around a lot. I spent most of my primary school in Somerset East, and large majority of it, we moved then to a small town called Addo. That's where I did my full primary school in a primary called Sunday's River or Sondagsrivier, as it was called. And we played a lot of rugby there. And then afterwards, I moved to Daniel Pinar, which is also a very big rugby school in the town of Uitenhage. I did grade 8 till matric there. And then afterwards, I then moved to the University of Nelson Mandela, where I studied mechanical engineering. And then afterwards, I then joined Continental as an intern. And then, I've worked my way in the company, multiple positions. And that's where I come from.
Well, you skipped over that school story. You said it's an Afrikaans school and you praat mooi Afrikaans. So tell us about tell us about the schooling in Uitenhage.
Yeah, the schooling was great. I remember it starting with primary school in Sondagsrivier. It was a small farming community, so I went to school with kids of farmers, and you can imagine, the amount of rugby we played. It was nice, and then we all moved to a high school in Daniel Pinar, which was a technische hoërskool. Daniel Pinar, my Afrikaans is bad. Noki Stradom was my rugby coach, and Noki instilled a lot of values within me, pushing me, telling me that in life, nothing is given to you. You need to be disciplined and you need to work hard. And down in Pinar, they had something called Tira Manira, because whenever we were working around the towns, we had to conduct ourselves in a specific type of way. And I think the discipline I got from guys like Noki, Stradom, and the rugby carried me through life and sort of distinguished me from the other people in university when I started working, because I had this resilience and, how can I say it, hardkoppige attitude towards life where I didn't want to give up. I always wanted to push. So yeah, I mean, those guys, yeah, they made me, you know.
That's unbelievable. Beautiful story. And I think, obviously, in doing research and reading up about you, one of the things that stood out for me is that in 2012 you were a petrol attendant while studying. Tell us a bit
Yep.
more about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in university, I mean, my mom was a single mother, and obviously I wanted to have some extra money for me to supplement my funds because she paid for half of my fees, and I also had a bursary. So I mean, I had to find a way. A friend of mine recommended that maybe we start a job at a fuel station. So we were lucky enough to get a job at an engine garage in PE. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we did the night shifts because the regular employees didn't want to work at night. So me and a buddy of mine used to go to the garage and then come from university, work night shift. And it was tough, Jan. I mean, I can imagine bumping into other students coming from clubs. Then they're like, there's Lazola. And then now you need to try and hide because you're seeing people that will laugh at you on Monday. But I mean, it was enjoyable because I learned a lot. I learned how to work with people. I learned how to deal with customers. I mean, it was. I mean, I would do it again if I had to because it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. But the tough part was seeing your friends coming from a joel at night, and and then there you are. Then they're asking you to pour petrol for them, and then yeah, that was the tough part.
Wow. And and one of the questions was it lonely? It must have been because, all the others were drawing, as you say, and here you were on a weekend with a bigger goal. But I guess, from what you're telling me, that discipline that was instilled in you, that kept you going.
Yep, definitely. I think for me, I've always understood that if you want life to be easy, then you'll be like everybody else. But if you want, let's say, a good sustainable future, you need to do the things that other people don't want to do. So for me, yeah, it was tough at that time, but back in my mind, I'm like, I know why I'm doing this, and it has a purpose. And I mean, that's why I kept doing it, regardless of what the other people were saying.
Well, that is unbelievable. You then finished varsity. I know you went to Germany before you got to the US. Tell us just about that journey.
Yeah, so I mean, within Conti, as I said, I mean, I was very fortunate to, let's say, be developed quite heavily within Conti in South Africa. So, I mean, the company funded portion of my studies. I then I did a PDBA via Conti. And I mean, that was great to expose me to business. And then 2022, 23, I mean, I got an offer from Germany to join our headquarters in research and development. And I mean, I took the opportunity, but then it meant that I had to relocate with my wife and my two kids. And then we all moved from South Africa, 2023, April, to Germany. And Germany it was a interesting experience in the beginning because everything was in German. Of course, it was similar to Afrikaans, like Flughafen is airport, I'd say tapping into my little bit rusty Afrikaans helped a little bit because I was able to, let's say, navigate some of the words and the accent. So that helped a little bit. And I mean, the kids, my kids were young at the time, so they adapted quick. We enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, and it was nice 2 years that we spent in Hanover in Germany.
Okay. And I mean, you talked about German. Did you have to learn German?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to learn it, so it was not required for me to learn. But much like I learned earlier on in my life, that language is a way to get connected to people. So from learning Afrikaans as a young kid, in my career, speaking Afrikaans helped me connect with people at work. So then I said, okay, if I can speak German a little bit, maybe I will connect with the people. So, I mean, I did a language course while I was there. So now, I mean, I can introduce myself in German, and I know how to listen and understand certain conversations because I at least know the key words in the language. I'm not fluent, but I mean, I can speak broken German and people understand what I'm trying to say. you know?
Yeah, it just adds to your life, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Lazola, when that opportunity arose, you said obviously you were pushed in the company. I think you mentioned that there was somebody that kind of also looked after you, a mentor.
Yeah.
Was when looking at that opportunity, was there an option of staying in South Africa and becoming a senior executive within Conti South Africa, or was that didn't you compare those two things?
Yeah. I mean, my mentor at the time has since left Conti. I mean, he was totally not in support of the idea because he believed that I had immense potential within the local entity in South Africa. But I mean, I explained to him that I'm still young. I was still young at the time, and at the end he understood, and he was like, you know what, if you're going to Europe, you are anyway accelerating your career development. So I mean, he gave me his blessings, but initially he was a little bit reluctant because he was losing a highly talented guy, and then the pipeline at the plant at the time was not that deep. So I mean, I think I had to push a little bit against his advice, but we are still close now, him and I. So he's working for a different company now, and I mean, we still keep in touch.
Oh, awesome. And those 2 years with your family, always, we ask how tough it is, just the move, because it's not always moonshine and roses. So, from a family perspective, how difficult was it for you guys, especially, say, the first 6 months?
Yeah, and it was rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was extremely rough because my wife couldn't speak the language, and my daughter at the time was 4, so she had already started grade R. Was it R? R, yeah, R in South Africa. So which means that she had already started learning in English. I mean, the first few months were frustrating for her because she just wasn't getting the language. My son, I mean, he was 1, so everything was smooth sailing for him because all the other classmates of his couldn't speak, so they were all mumming together. But it took us about 4 months to adapt. The kids adapted first, then my daughter picked up the language quite quickly. Then she became our translator, and then my wife enjoyed it once we found the South African community. So we found a very large South African community. I mean, they even have a Facebook page and a WhatsApp group. So we joined, and then she met a lot of South Africans. And then that's how she got introduced to the German community from those people that were either married to Germans from kindergarten. And once she was happy and the kids were happy, then I mean, my life was a lot easier.
Happy wife, happy life. You've also answered that question, but in terms of just the welcoming of South Africans abroad is just incredible. There's so many groups, and we always talk about a soft landing, being able to get assimilated in a community. Because I don't know Germany, but I assume that the Germans themselves, and probably because of the language, are not like really welcoming. They're not going to invite you to their home because you speak funny.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Germans are it takes a while for them to open up. Um, but once they open up, then I mean then you're tight for life. So they are not like the Americans that, let's say, are very friendly at first, but you're like you can't be like this friendly. You just met me. But the Germans, let's say, take their time, and the South Africans we met gave us the gateway to build those German connections. So they helped us a lot, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And just from a work point of view, what's it like working I know it was the same company, but working in Germany, it's not the same, probably, the atmosphere in the office and so on, as you would have in South Africa.
No, I mean, the German working culture is very, very different. There, things take time, right? So you'll be working on a project that's due in 8 months' time. But I mean, there's no rush. I found that in South Africa, everything was, mark a plan. We need to do something now, But there, the people are very, very structured and organized. And it's always about, what are we trying to achieve in the next few months, And the people also don't have scarcity mindset, So everybody wants to share. They trust 100% first time. They don't doubt who you are, what you're capable of, So they're like, if you're here, you must be good. So you can do whatever you need. So I mean, it's different. And it took a while for me to adapt. Also, the starting times at work. I was at work at like 7, and then there's no one. I'm like, okay. I'm like, gents, what time do you start? And then they start popping up at like 8:45, and then I'm like, okay. But then at around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they pack their bags and leave. I'm there. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? So I mean, I had to adjust my thinking, and I learned a lot. I learned how to work and look long term, and not always trying to get like instant gratification.
That's interesting. And in terms of things like, I know you were there for a 2 year. It was a 2 year contract, I assume. It wasn't going to be permanent. It
No, I
was.
mean, it was supposed to be permanent.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
going here to the US took a lot of people by surprise, because when I moved there, it was like a permanent relocation. But then obviously when this opportunity to the US popped up, I mean, I couldn't say no to it. And I guess the Germans sort of understood, and yeah, and then things sort of worked out. But I mean, it was not a 2 year or 3 year assignment. It was a indefinite assignment.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a 2 year contract. Wow, that is amazing. So you went straight from Germany to the US.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, after Germany, I mean, I didn't even go to South Africa. I did everything, visas in Germany for the US. And my wife and my kids flew straight from Munich to Charlotte without. So we haven't been home in 3 years now. So it's been quite interesting. Yeah.
So that that's just amazing. It's hard to move once, but it's really tough to move twice, and completely different culture, new country, everything's different. Just when you kind of settled in Germany, so I assume that was quite difficult, and obviously moving with the company, the visas, the kind of relocation issues. I assume it's easier than for somebody who's going to move by himself, and take his own stuff and organize everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think the company does a lot of the legwork. Literally, you just need to show up, and everything else is taken care of. When we left South Africa, the company gave options whether we want to move our furniture or we want to sell everything, and then they give us a let's say a lump sum where we can buy furniture. They pay for the flights, they pay for the lawyer fees, everything. Like, I didn't have to do anything. The company took care of all the costs and everything. So I mean, we were quite fortunate that we could move without losing anything of our own from a financial perspective. So I think, yeah, it sort of works out for us.
That's interesting. Oh my word! So many people talk about furniture. What did you choose? Did you take your furniture, or did you take
We
the
took
lump sum?
nothing.
Ah,
No,
well done.
we took nothing. We gave everything to my mom back home, because I mean, most of the stuff had sentimental value. And then in Germany, that was the hard part. So in Germany, unlike South Africa, you can't just sell stuff. So we had to throw a lot of stuff away that we couldn't sell. And that was by far the hardest part, because the couches, once you couldn't sell them, then, you need to go to the dump site, hire a truck, throw them away, but you spent like 2 grand or in euros buying the couch, but then you need to throw it away.
Yeah.
It's the hard part, But
No,
yeah,
that's true. We just found that the South African furniture is often so big that it just doesn't fit into the homes here in Europe, and and there's no real second-hand market, so you end up giving it away or dumping it. So I think you made a wise choice. So Lazola, you arrive in the US after 2 years in Germany. Your wife went through a hard time. You said 4 months to adapt to German culture, doing things in Germany. Language obviously easier. How hard was this first 6 months in the US?
it was not hard at all. Like
Really?
just to give you a indication, when we arrived at Charlotte, it was around 1 p.m. on the 9th of June. When we got to the airport, some random guy said, "Welcome home, brother." My wife and I looked at each other like, we're like, does he think we are we are married? So I mean, it was interesting. Since that day, the people here have been like unlike what we see on TV. Extremely welcoming. Doesn't matter who they are, and the culture is very similar to South Africa. I mean, we used to go to church a lot back home in South Africa. We found a church here. We're part of the church community. And I mean, literally, life is almost identical to back home. And my wife was just told me that we are not moving anymore. So uh, that's how happy she is. But I mean, obviously, at some point, I want to go back to South Africa. But I mean, yeah, I think I'll leave that up to my wife to decide when. But I mean, yeah, she's really happy. The kids also are great. My daughter found school, son found a school, and it's amazing how they've adapted because they've sort of integrated very quickly to the school, and their English is now changing, which is a concern for us. It's got now that I don't know
The twang.
that that and we're trying to straighten it up, but hey, we're not that successful.
Once they start saying y'all, you know that they completely converted.
Then it's curtains for us. But
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
well.
but I think it's been great. So in comparison, I think the transition here has been a lot smoother for the whole family.
And I've obviously spoken to a lot of people in America. One of the difficulties of America when you go over on a working visa, or there's so many types of visas, H-1, or H whatever. Does your visa allow your wife to get a job?
Yes. Yes, we are very fortunate because I mean I'm here on a L1A manager executive visa. So my visa allows her to work almost immediately, and she's actually in the process of being hired on in a company. She accepted an offer actually two weeks ago. So her start date will be 1st of May. And if I'm honest with you, this is part of the reason why we, let's say, wanted the US, because yeah, when we compared Germany and the US, she was really struggling to find work opportunities because of the German language barrier. And when we then, let's say, compared the two, we're like, okay, then the US would enable her to, let's say, restart a career, after her having to pause a career to enable me to move. So I have to also be fair to her as my partner, so that she can also restart her career and drive her own personal ambitions.
And what does she do, Lazola? What's her background?
So my wife is a chemist. So she's a compound chemist. She studied rubber technology. And back home in South Africa, she was also working for Conti in the laboratory, where she was doing all the evaluations, rubber tests, and so forth. So I mean, she's in that science field, and I'm in the engineering business field. So I would say she's a lot smarter than I am. Uh, so yeah, that's her career field.
That is just amazing. Oh man, it's so awesome to hear that you guys are so happy. And in terms of your visa, how long are you able to stay in the States, or do they just keep renewing it?
Yeah, so my visa it's for 3 years, and then after 3 years, it's renewable for another two. But then what the company allows us to do after a year, we start the process of green card. So we will start the green card process maybe around June. And then after a few months, then we will get permanent residency to the US, which will enable us to stay maybe 10 years or whatever. And then after 5 to 6 years, I think, then we are eligible for citizenship. I'm not quite sure about that yet because I love the green mamba a lot. So I don't think I will be exploring that option anytime soon because I mean, I love South Africa to bits.
Yeah. Look, it's very interesting because my children moved there in 2016, maybe. They've now got US passports and their kids are,
Oh, nice.
in a high school age and so on. So they live in Dallas, and it gets more and more difficult to go back. I think that's probably one thing that you will find as well is that, just from a financial perspective and timing it, because, when your kids go to high school, can you take them back and put them in a school in South Africa? Will it be the same? Yeah, there's a lot of
Mm,
things to consider, but I think, as you say, you've got to do what's right for you right now, and I think you're doing that. So
yeah,
well
no,
done.
definitely.
So,
No, definitely.
and before we just get to life in the US, just tell us about the Ironman.
Hey, yeah, that was a different life. Yeah, so I did an Ironman 2017, a full Ironman, and 2016 I did the half, and I also did the half in 2017, and my last half was in 2018. But I mean, it was a fantastic time of my life. I was let's say younger at the time, no kids, and I mean, I was hungry for challenges. I only did it because of a mate of mine that I played rugby with said, "Yeah, I mean, yes, you can run, but I bet you can't do an Ironman." I was like, I'm like, I'm like me. I'm like, okay, I'll show you. It started off as a bet. I then signed up for the race, found a group of people to train with, and I just locked into the mentality from high school that I learned from playing rugby, and I just went for it.
Yeah.
So it helped me a lot. I mean, I built a lot of good friendships through doing it, but it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my
Oh
life.
my word, I can just
But I mean,
imagine.
yeah,
Yeah, I did the comrades, but I think the Ironman strikes me. I can't swim, so I would drown. But it strikes me as a really tough challenge. And well done, man. I told you
yeah,
about
no
Flip. I
thanks.
think Flip's doing it this year. He has done it, and
Oh, really?
these guys are also these big rugby players. I don't know how you guys do
John
it.
Smith, John Smith was about 5 minutes ahead of me.
Wow.
For 2017, we did the same full Ironman in PE, and I mean, I was doing it under the Ironman for kids at the time. I mean, seeing John Smith run right in front of me was like a celebrity moment. I was like, damn, this is like a World Cup winning hooker running in front of me.
Awesome. That is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And let's get to life where you guys are. One of the things that people often talk about is the American healthcare system. Have you guys had exposure with little kids and so on? What's that like? Your experience of the US healthcare system?
Um, it's expensive. That's all I can say. Uh, Compared to Germany, I mean, again, we can only compare. The healthcare system in Europe is world class. Like literally, I've had many MRIs. You go in there, you hardly pay anything. Yeah, I mean, I went to the doctor. I was not feeling well, and they just gave me medication, and we walked out with a $200 bill. And I was like, I mean, okay, I was not dying. So it's very capitalistic, and it's very business orientated. And I mean, it's, I think, yeah, you just need to find a way of exercising, eating well, and making sure you avoid going to the doctor. Otherwise, I mean, you'll be working for your medical bills.
And you've got probably got corporate cover of some
Yeah,
sort. So
yeah, yeah.
imagine
Even
guys
with
that
that,
don't have it. Yeah.
it's
And
still
you
quite a lot.
you talk about eating healthy. We know that that's not something the Americans like to do. How do comparing Germany and the US in terms of food? What's that like for you guys?
Uh, let's just say in Europe or in Germany, we the food quality was a lot better. The let's say there was not so much processed food, and the quality was even better than food back home in South Africa. Here, we to just give you an indication, my wife makes majority of our lunch. We cook everything ourselves, and we hardly eat out, you know. And even the kids, I mean, we don't even allow them to eat that much sugar here because everything is sweet, you know. I mean, the contrast in the textures compared to Germany, just the same Coke with sugar tastes a lot sweeter here than it did when we were in Europe. So we just try to navigate the food and not eat out a lot, and we cook most of the stuff at home, you know, to avoid buying all the fast food that you can think of, you know,
Yeah.
here.
That's very true. And in terms of exercise, are you with the family? Are you still able to get some exercise?
No, I mean, I would never leave it. So we are very fortunate. Here in Conti, there's a gym right above my office. And I mean, I wake up quite early, so I'm always here in the gym at about 5:10 in the morning. And I start my day with a very strenuous strength workout. I learned obviously from doing rugby. And then family and my wife runs a lot. So she does a lot of mid-distance running. And then the kids, my son is playing soccer. And my daughter is into gymnastics and track. So the first thing we did when we arrived was put them into sport programs, because we didn't want them to spend most of the time at home. So the whole family, Monday to Friday, the kids' schedule. So my son has got soccer Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and my daughter's got gymnastics on Tuesday and Thursday. And then my wife's, now that she hasn't started working yet, runs almost every morning after dropping the kids off, you know. So I think sport is something that we have as a value in my family.
That's fantastic, and that will keep you healthy. And you talked about the kids' school, because I know in America the kids they don't really have sport at school. They have to do it, as you said, in programs. And but what's your impression of the school system like?
The school system is very similar to, let's say, the school system back when I was young in South Africa. The teachers, Tanis back home, you know, they especially for primary school. But what I found in comparison to Germany, the structure is more here than what we experienced in Germany. So at an early age, they focus on teaching the kids maths. I mean, my son is taught maths at 4. Whereas in Germany, when we arrived, my daughter was 4, and they only touch school reading and writing when they are in first grade, which means
Mm.
that only when they are 6 or 7 do they touch a book. But when they are in daycare, they just play. So that's, let's say, the biggest shock for us because our kids are young, is that in the US, even in daycare and in pre-K, as they call it, the kids are required to learn, be able to read letters. And in Germany, it's more the opposite, where they want the child to play and be a child and only start doing school when they get to school, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's different. And then our daughter was in a private school in Germany. So, I mean, she wasn't in a public school. So it was more bilingual, more she was being taught in German and in English. So it wasn't the true German experience like the public schools that they have in the country.
Yeah, the one thing that I found also in the school system in America, and I'm not sure if it's in every state, but certainly my grandkids had to learn from a very young age a cultural subject. So my grandson learned to play the violin, and now in high school he's in the school orchestra, and he's taught himself to play the guitar, and it's just amazing from nowhere. So it's great that they also force them into that kind of cultural environment, learn different skills, because I think all those are skills that will help you one day. That's kind of what you're after. um Sorry, you talked about the South Africans in Germany. Do you have the same uh, welcoming from South Africans in South Carolina or in Sumter? I don't know, it's a pretty small town, but are there
Yeah.
lots of South African groups there as well?
I mean, there's not many South African groups here outside of work. Obviously, there's colleagues here at work that are South African. My boss's boss is South African, and I mean, it's him and his family that we've, let's say, met, and another colleague of mine. But I mean, that's pretty much it. There isn't that big of a community, at least in this part of the US. And we've seen that majority of the South African groups are in the bigger cities like Florida. There's a massive South African community there. And also up north, Virginia and those types of states. But here in the South, especially in South Carolina, we haven't found that many South Africans.
Okay, but you make, obviously, through school and through church, that's kind of an ideal place to make friends and just build a community, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, that works for us. It's allowing us to, let's say, connect with the Americans and also see the different side of the American culture. And then we're appreciating it. I mean, they're teaching us a lot how to, behave in society. They say I must get a gun, so I don't know. My friends the American friends I've made, they're like, you need to get yourself a gun, not one. Ooh, I'm like, so I don't know how
It
that's
is
gonna
so
work.
funny. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just what do you find most difficult about living in the States?
But the main thing that I find is the challenge is the time zone, if I'm honest with you. Sounds weird, but I enjoyed Germany because I could just pick up the phone and call my mother. Now here I spend majority of my time in the office. And then by the time I knock out, it's almost 10, 11 p.m. And my mom is just, let's say, by herself with my younger brother who's like in his 30s now. So, you know, yeah, there's no one there at her house to be with her. And I often, when I try to call her, the timing doesn't always work out. So that's the only thing that I would say is not that much ideal. Other than that, I mean, the country itself is great, and we are slowly getting used to, the corporate way of working, which is also different to Germany. And I'm trying to adjust also to the faster paced
Mm,
American style,
mm,
where it's all about results now, today, not tomorrow. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you touched on family, and I was going to say, what's the thing you miss most about South Africa? And if I hear you correctly, it's just that family interaction, because that cuts through every single conversation I have. That's the biggest sacrifice of immigration. Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I think losing also family is hard because in 2024 we lost my grandmother, and I mean I couldn't go. And that was the hard part because if you go home, especially if you have a young family, you can't go by yourself because who you going to leave your family with? And then also going to South Africa is not cheap. So anything that happens requires a lot of financial planning. And people grow up and your parents age. And I mean, you think about depriving your mother of the opportunity of seeing your kids grow. That's tough.
That's very difficult. Very,
Yeah.
very difficult. Have you considered bringing your mother across to come and
Visit.
visit or live with you guys, or is that not an option?
Yeah, I think coming to live probably will not work that well with the whole political situation. I think what we are considering now is first for us to visit. So we will be planning to visit South Africa in the winter and summer this side in June, just for us to visit her. And she's retiring next year. And we were thinking that once she's retired, we can have a nice every 3 months she comes for like 90 days, spends time here, and then goes back, just to make sure that as she's getting older, she can have, let's say extended breaks living with us and then going back, instead of her moving and staying full time with us.
It's so tough. Just missing out on the kids growing up. As a grandparent myself, I know exactly what she must be going through, and I think that's really hard. Somebody said this week, there's a cost and there's a price to immigration, and I don't know which one's which, but one is the actual cost of moving and getting there, but the price you pay is that lack of interaction with family, missing birthdays, missing births and things like that. You can't, and especially with South Africans, we move when you move like to the US across time zones. It's not just hop on a plane when something goes wrong. So yeah, it's um,
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
tough.
difficult. But you did say that you see yourself going back. Is that the big plan?
When the excitement meets the admin, Apostle is here to help. We help South Africans at home and abroad with documents and visas for travel and immigration. Visit apostle.co.za or call us on 011 083 9830. Apostle, documents with convenience.
Definitely, I think that's the ultimate plan for me. And I'm not sure if I told you, but my other mentor, uh, is in South Africa. He's in Joburg. He's a former CEO of a JSE listed company. I think he was a chief executive of a company called Altron,
Oh yeah.
um, not so long ago, and he's now in the public sector in Eskom. So him and I have a lot of monthly calls, and one thing we've been talking about is what's the game plan when I go back to South Africa. And I think we both agreed that, at some point, everything that the country has invested in me, I need to be part of the solution, in terms of fixing the country. I mean, there's a lot of strong people there, but I sometimes feel guilty not being part of the group that's trying to make the country better. So that at some point I want to go back, and be in a leading business role, in the Johannesburg area, and contribute to, let's say, taking all the experience that I've learned internationally and then plowing it back to the South African economy. That's why I think the citizenship route, yeah, is something that I can get, that maybe would be good for my kids. But for me, as a millennial, I really want to make things better back home.
You've stayed out of politics because there's a lot of people that are so negative about what's going on in South Africa. You see a different path. You see a path of, making business and helping people that way.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. I mean, we can contribute. I think I've never been a political person. Politics, I think, is for politics. But I think there's a lot of great companies, in South Africa that are changing the country through business. And I think that's the best way I can help back home. If I can lead, a business ethically and in a good way, turn it around, create employment. And it means that more South Africans can have jobs, and also leverage the international experience that I have to make the South African economy better. And then, and hope that politically things get better. I can only hope there. But I think from a business side, I want to be part of the solutions at some point in the future,
And I know you've got a YouTube channel. Is the idea of that to plow something back? Is that a way of mentoring maybe young people?
Yeah, the YouTube video or channels that I created, I have not explored it in almost three or 2 years. But I think for me, mentorship is through the connections that I make on LinkedIn. So there are a lot of guys that reach out to me when we have calls and we talk. I give them advice. That's the best way I can contribute, through giving my time and sharing best practices. One guy just moved to the US, and 2 other guys had moved to Germany after I had moved. And guys that I've met, known, they were curious. They were like, hey, how is it like? I gave them everything. And this set them up to be able to move, to Germany and the US respectively. So I think that's how I can plow back. And that's why I really love LinkedIn as a platform, because I think it's a powerful tool for me to be able to give insights and share my experiences and connect with people back home, so that I can share knowledge, and whatever I can contribute.
Fantastic. Yo, we're getting to the end. I could talk to you all night. All night for me, it's afternoon
It
for
will be
you,
a
but
time
it's
for me, yeah.
Friday. But so, last question: If a young guy from Dinsani is watching and listening and thinking, that could never be me, what would your message to him be, or her?
Yeah, anything is possible. So just have a vision for what you want your life to be, and be stubborn and work hard to make it a reality. And yeah, if you set a vision for your life, it always works. It sounds cliche. What I'm going to say is going to sound corny, but I've got a vision board in my office that I made in 2017. That vision board has somehow come to fruition, because everything that I'd put down on that vision board sort of became my North Star. I wanted to work internationally. I've worked internationally. I wanted an MBA. I have an MBA, so all those things that I'd set out, even the Ironmans, everything that I've wanted in life, I sat down and I said, I want it. Then I asked myself, how do you get it? And then that's where it starts happening, because once you ask yourself, how do you get it? The stars align and everything then conspires in your favor. So I would say to him, have a plan for your life of what you want to be, and then be stubborn about being pursuing it until it becomes a reality.
I'm getting goosies listening to you. Lazola, I cannot thank you enough. Thanks for connecting with me, and thank you so much for sharing your journey and your perspective on living and working abroad, and your love for South Africa. I think that's just awesome. Thank you so much, man. And I will put your LinkedIn contacts in the show notes if people want to contact you. But I really, really appreciate you coming on the show.
No, thank you very much. Or should I say bye-bye, dankie.
Ek is niemand so oom nie. Ek is And to our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might enjoy the conversation. You can find more episodes of The Relocated South African on your favorite platform, or visit our website at therelocatedSouthAfrican.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.